Hi, my name's Andy. This is my channel, Modeloco. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It won't hurt the bank balance. This little locomotion, number one. It's not a review, isn't this video? It's more of a bolt-on, a public bolt-on that I normally issue to members. But this is important because I've been having a few troubles getting sound into this model. And you proceed at your own risk. But this is my journey. If you want to look at changing, writing, reading CVs with your DCC controller, it should be possible, should be easy, but it's all a bit of mystical science when you're not on an HMDCC app, of course. Unless you've a dongle, Andy. This ain't HM7000. I've done 2 videos now on Locomotion number 1 from Hornby. The first was a preview before it was released, and we compared the 2 Locomotion number 1s on offer in Modeloco ml57. If you search that up, that's comparing the models on offer and what's different. And then a review on Modeloco video ml56, and I want sound in there and what I did and how I fit it. The next video, which is this one and a bolt-on for everybody, my ongoing journey into getting the sounds right for a sound file that isn't really available for Locomotion number 1. Unless you know of one, please let me know. I've been using a LOC-Sound5 decoder. So how do we alter CV settings? On these decoders, when you haven't got a programming module and you've got a sound file on that nearly works but doesn't really go with Locomotion number 1. I've got an A3 sound profile and I've found some surprising good sounds in there that do match. So bear with me. Let's have a look at it. Can I recommend Loc Sound or don't I recommend Loc Sound? Plus a few more high-res photos that I never got quite a chance to show after we got into the DCC debacle, and a few more high-res video shots. I'm on the workbench here and I've got the new Locomotion. I've put a Next 18 decoder in it. I thought, like many others have thought, that it would take the HM7000 Bluetooth. It doesn't. George Waller has hinted that smaller ones are coming out, but the current sound decoders do not go in that tender. No way. Watch the video on that. I took out of my Flying Scotsman TT120 model a Loc Sound decoder, version 5, and I've put it in that. That's in the video. But it's not been calibrated to this locomotive as it was to the Scotsman, and the volumes were always low in the Flying Scotsman. Even when I took the Loc Sound decoder out and put it in a 00 diesel locomotive, so I'm going to get A3 sounds coming out of that. As soon as I swap to a HM7000 decoder, either in the diesel or in the TT120 Scotsman, then the volumes were fine. The low volumes on this are not to do with the speaker or the bass chamber. That being said, it looks like it's a very bespoke sugar cube speaker within the Locomotion. It's not the usual standard size. It's a bit smaller. It's more oblong shaped. And so I'm thinking it's going to be a bit less volume, but not that much of a difference. What I'm going to attempt is a CV8 reset, but first I'm going to read the CV settings. So I've got my Elite manual in front of me. I've got my Elite controller. I've got it on the rolling road, which is my programming track for this. So you make sure it's on the programming track side. Don't forget that, it's easily done. Press menu, press direct, press address, find CV, wherever it is. There we go. And we can either write or read. I want to read, and I want to read CV8. Okay, we're nearly there. So then it's reading the decoder. It's not like the HMDCC app. So it's 151. Now look, I've written down the numbers to different manufacturers' decoders. So Zemo is 145, Digitrax diddly, but ESU is 151, and we've got 151 on there. That means it's an ESU Loc Sound decoder. Right, escape. So now we're going to CV write, and we're going to write and reset the ESU decoder to a value of 8. It's called a CV8 reset, okay, which will reset the decoder. So I'm going to write CV8, press again, and I'm going to write 8. that has now reset the decoder. So I'm now going to put it back onto the track, as it were, but using the rolling road, and we'll see how we go. It was on 40, it's now gone back to 3. Okay. So it's classed as black 5. I've got channel 3 as my black 5, but now it's going to run this decoder. So put the function on. Straight away, the volumes have gone up. A3 sounds, they've already been programmed on that decoder. It's not like DCC. There's nothing I can do about that. A lot better. A bit closer angle. Will that do for me? Bit of a jumpy start. So I haven't finished with it yet. Let's just try it in reverse. Yeah, there's that jump. I can hear the darn thing now at least. So let's just take it back to channel 40. So if you've forgotten how to do that, on the programming track, press menu button, control 1, direct, address. So address right, and we want to take it back to 40. Yeah, which said Modeloco. Address right. Boom, shake, shake the room. So then now when I escape, once we change back over again, we've got it. But we've still got that jump in. Let's put this back onto changing CVs. We've now done a CV8 reset. We found out by reading the decoder that it was an ESU decoder because it had 151, and we've done a reset by changing the figure here to number 8, pressing reset, and then changing the channel back to the channel address that I wanted it, which is 40 on my Elite. Next, what we're going to do is a CV54 reset. This auto adjusts the BEMF. It calibrates the motor, runs it very fast, so you need it on a rolling road or quite a long piece of track. Okay, do it step by step together. So again, we go into the back of the Elite onto the programming track. Now we're back on there, press menu, Loco, direct, address, CV read. Let's just read 8 now, see what it says. So we've reset the decoder to the ESU default settings, okay? We escape from there, press CV. We're going to write now to CV54. This is for lock sound ESU decoders. Lock sound 5 I've got in. So we press that. And we're going to write it to 0. Remembering that as well. So we write it to 0. Sorry if my voice gets very loud. So we've written that. We can escape now. And we're going to go back onto the track. Either have it on a rolling road or a very long piece of straight track. To do this, I've got it on my rolling road. Watch what happens when I press F1. It should run away with itself very fast indeed. That has now adjusted the BEMF setting. Put the sound back on. And now we don't get that sudden jerk. Do you see? We get a nice steady takeoff. So now I'm going to go back out onto the programming track again. CV63. We're going to read it. So press that, press that, press that twice. Scan through. CV read. And we want to read CV63. If they're too low, you can write them and up them as we did in the last step. I've already set this. 192. Now, when we alter individual sounds later on, we are going to have to make sure that CV31 and 16 are set to certain numbers. But for global volume, you don't need to bother about that at this moment. CV63 is the sound volume. Master volume control for all sounds. And it has a range of 0 to 192. The default setting is 129. I've got it now on full volume. It's not going to go any louder than that. The thing I'm not happy about is the chuff rate. So that's what's going to have to be sorted out next. But you can hear it's just modulating that is the chuff rate. It's terrible. So it's far too fast. Maximum speed is too slow for me, really. I could do with a bit more speed than that. So that's another thing I can do. Into the programming side of things. Press again, remember, once, twice, go to CV. So you can probably see that this is quite a science. It does get easier and more obvious the more you do it. But I have put a sheet up. You can download and print this off. There's a link below this video. But the chuff rate and controlling it, and it's said to come from CV249, CV57 and CV58. Now, when I read CV58, the default setting when it calibrated locomotion on the rolling road was at 110. Now, I messed around with 249 and I messed around with CV57. They didn't do much at all, but the one I found that worked was CV58. So that's the one I've included on this sheet. So on number 7.7, CV58, to set chuff rate, I found best about 241. Now, locomotion number 1 has a pair of vertical cylinders and tends to clang and clash more than really chuff. Once I'd set that, then it was about right for me. Acceleration and deceleration. It's going on and on and on for me, is that. It's just too much. I'm sorry, lock, sound, ESU. It looks realistic, yeah, fine. But when I'm on a track and I need to stop quick. So we've shown how to read and write. So then I went on to point 8, which is CV3. Found that, read it, then set that to 30 because it was too slow getting up to top speed. When I looked at point 9 CV4, the deceleration rate, that was also too slow for me. I like a quicker stop than that, especially when I'm running trains. So I set that to 25. So it decelerates faster, really, a little bit than it accelerates. And then I went on to point 10, which is CV5, which is the maximum speed setting. And it'll go up to 255. Now, that's far too fast for me, especially for locomotion number 1. And I found my max speed was a bit slow on this decoder. It has been ever since I got it. So I've now set that, even after it's been calibrated, to 180 for locomotion, which is still fast, but it's sort of something that I don't have to turn right up, and I can always alter again later. But I want to see how it runs against Lion, which goes quite fast. So then I put it back on the main track and ran it. That will fair chuff along. That's well fast enough for me. I still found F2 and F13 and F7 were needing extra tweaking, right? So F2 and F13 were too loud and F7 far too low. So then I put it back on the programming track. You've got to set CV31 to 16 and CV32 to 1. And it's very important before you alter any sound volumes independently. Remember, I've upped the global volume, but I want to adjust some of the individual sounds. So on point 12, F7 is the guard's whistle, which was so low and it always has been. So to find out which CV the guard's whistle is on, you've got to go onto my second sheet that I've included. And these are coastal DCC sounds that were put on the chip when I bought it. So I've gone through them and I can see that the guard's whistle is on, or called platform whistle, on F7. And F7 CV is CV3 23. So I'm going to set that to the max volume of 255. And then I'm going to go to F2, and I found out from DCC Coastal that the long whistle on F2 is CV283, and F13, which is the safety valve and is too loud as well. Set that down a bit, so that's CV387. After reading these, use a bit of common sense and lower them. And then the master volume is to the max to get all and lift all them other sounds up higher. Hope that all makes sense. I have found one interesting sound on function 21, I think. Bell. We have got a bell. Quite cute, isn't it? Lovely. Oh, which is nice. I had no idea that was on the A3. Oh, 3 bells, 4 bells, for whom the bells toll. I can see a few people going, oh, I'm going to get a lock sound now. And that's it. So yeah, we've got the nice bells for when you're travelling along. Oh, like that. Which really do match this locomotive in a surprising way. Now, remembering this is an A3 sound profile that's on this chip, and I've just made it do because it's the only one that would fit that I've got. It's a Lock Sound 5 ESU Micro Next 18. It's 21 by 10, and I'm not sure how thick it is, but I'd say it's a little bit thicker than the Zimo Mini Next 18, which is 15 by 9.5, slightly narrower, slightly shorter as well, and possibly a little bit slimmer. I already have a Zimo MS490N sound decoder in my TT120 Class 08. This is a 6-pin sound decoder, not an X18, so remember sounds vary from different retailers, so study these and remember that, of course, a 6-pin decoder won't fit in an X18. That being said, Zimo are very good. Now, another thing to mention as well, lock sound decoders do not work well with coreless motors, but Locomotion number 1 at present has a sealed 3-pole motor, so that's no issue. Some coreless motors, I've heard Carl say at Hornby, have also burnt out when using HM7000 Bluetooth decoders in their trials. So Hornby as yet don't use these, and I have stayed clear as well myself. Again, this is not applicable for Locomotion number 1 at this time. And last but not least, HM7000 Bluetooth Next 18 sound decoders will not fit Locomotion number 1 with the present production sizes available. The Hornby Lion will accommodate one, and that's only just. So I've done them both now, I've got sounds in them both, and I'm loving them. Locomotion number 1 is very light. There's no pickups on the tender, so it's just those 4 drive wheels. They're very close together. They're very tiny and narrow. Dirty track and point work on very slow speeds is gonna be the Achilles heel on this model. But that being said, I did give it 9 out of 10 because of the innovation. Without the innovation, if it had been a bog standard 060 or something like that, I'd have probably given it 8 out of 10. Great movement here from Hornby, and I'm enjoying the model very much. So that should have been the end of that. Up into Lofthouse for a bit more filming in a better resolution, because this is a very fine scale model indeed and very tiny for 00 gauge. So we're not used to seeing them this small. So I ran a couple of times up and down the track, and you probably see it stick a couple of times. I thought, well, yeah, once it got up to speed, it's fine. First couple of steps, it was a little bit coggy, and then off it went. And I thought, yeah, well, it's hardly running. It's not really running much. So, and it is a very light, small Loco. So I thought, yeah, let that go. We're okay. I got it going up and down again, but I did notice that the sounds seemed to be fading again. I'd set them all, they were sounding good. And then sent it in reverse. It went for a little bit more, and that was it. Stopped. Reset the Elite, just in case the Elite had glitched. It sometimes does. No, that wasn't it. Put another train on the track to test the track hadn't died for some reason, or the wire hadn't split. No, the train worked all right. The other decoder in another train, that was fine. So there's something wrong with locomotion number 1. So I stripped it down, took the decoder out, the lock sound 1, put it in the Flying Scotsman that it come out of, and nothing from that. So I put the blanking plug back into the locomotion number 1, put it on the track, put a 9-volt battery on the track, and off it went. So the decoder has gone again. This is the second time I've had issues with lock sound decoders and Hornby models. The other one was with the TT121, and again that had petered out. Now I haven't got a programming module, but you should be able to alter CV settings from your DCC controller. At this moment, I'm not exactly going to recommend Locksound 5 because of my troubles, but luckily Coastal DCC have said they're going to take a look at it. I'm going to send it back to them, and that's what a good retailer and having that good relationship with someone is all about. Let's see what happens and see if we can get something moving here. Well, the next 18 sound decoders, of course, DePaul or Zimmo, and I've had some good success with Zimmo decoders, so I do like those. I think Hornby must have some plan up the sleeves, but they're not letting slip as yet, and we'll see what transpires. I'll let you know how I get on and give you another update then. But hopefully you've seen a few more pictures and you're able to clearly set out where you think you might want to go. And I do want sound in this. It's got a Sugar Cube speaker in it. It's not the best one I've ever seen, but it's there. And when I got it going, it sounded loud enough. I was happy with the chuff rate, and I've never really been able to get to the bottom of what's wrong with these decoders. They may not match the modulation or the electronics in the Hornby. I don't know. I just don't know what's going on. But I'll keep you posted. We'll see you on the next one. Happy modelling. Take care. And this was a bit of a bolt on for everybody to the last video. Comments below. Let me know what you feel and what your thoughts are so far of locomotion number 1 if you've got one. Have you had any glitches? Have you had any issues? Have you had any issues with lock sound decoders like one of my other commenters had with cordless motors? Or any issues with Hornby and lock sound? We'll get to the bottom of it. We will get it sorted, and we'll see you soon.